Welcome in everyone to the Larsonland podcast. I'm your host, Sawyer Hill, and I'm joined as always by my co-host, Dylan Bradshaw. We come in here every single week and talk about all things involving the 2021 NASCAR Cup Series champion, Young Money Kyle Larson. Fourth place finish for Kyle Larson at Kansas in the second race of the round of 16 on Sunday. But before we get to that, Dylan, let's dive into some of the dirt track racing that Kyle did this past week at the Silver Dollar Speedway. Wednesday night with the Sprint Car Challenge Tour. Kyle's first and only, I think, 360 Sprint Car start of 2023. Started sixth, finished sixth. Not much passing in that one. The track conditions were kind of tricky, but on Thursday night with the first night of the Gold Cup, Kyle really put on a show and picked up the win.
Yeah, much different watching the 360s compared to the 410s. They're just so much slower. Not really used to watching them, but 57 cars just wasn't dialed in that night. But yeah, the 410s, it was a different story with the World of Outlaws, the Silver Dollar. He started sixth again. He was able to make his way back up to fourth on lap one. So, just right out the gate, just showing speed. Made up to third on lap two, and then, just slowly worked his way up to the front. He was able to take the lead, I think, on lap 22 or so, but track was really fast. Bottom, it stayed pretty consistent. Larson, he moved up high. He started making up a lot of ground there around the midway point to the end of the race when he was up high. Made up a lot of ground, but yeah, just a good race. The track conditions the second night were really good. It was a really fast track. It was definitely a good show for sure. So good outing for Larson, starting sixth, finished first. Can't really wish too much more from that.
Yeah, it was a good night for sure, and a track that Kyle definitely has a lot of experience on, and obviously one that he co-promotes with Brad Sweet and Colby Copeland. And my biggest takeaway from this race was, and really from Gold Cup in general, was how much really stiff 410 sprint car competition there is out there in California. I mean, we saw Corey Day pick up the win on Saturday night in the main event. Obviously the biggest win of his career. But I mean, even on Thursday night when Kyle was there racing, I mean, there was some really stiff competition, and I think it gets overlooked a lot in the sprint car scene because we over here on the East Coast we talk about the Pennsylvania guys a lot. I mean, the as far as local competition goes, and I think with most of the racing being more centralized to this area on the East Coast, I think the PA guys get talked about a lot more. But California guys are no slouches, and they definitely showed that at Gold Cup, and I think we'll see it with the World of Outlaws the next week or so as well.
Yeah, it's an interesting point because when the Outlaws come to town at a little local PA track, I mean the local guys are really not battling too much. They're usually like you see them in B main, C main race. So yeah, I mean these local guys in California, they're definitely no joke. They definitely showed the World of Outlaws that they're serious talent, and it's interesting to see because you kind of wonder if the local guys are gonna just kind of continue racing local, or if any of them will ever branch out and join one of these big series. Maybe it's just a matter of finding the right team to do so. But hopefully, they start to get a little bit more spotlight, a little bit more recognition from some of these teams. Bigger series teams that need a driver. Maybe they can look in that direction. But one interesting thing, I think. I believe that Larson in the 410 he was racing Kevin Kozlowski's 57. It wasn't Silva's car, so that was a pretty interesting little takeaway that I saw. Really fast car, was definitely dialed in. So Silva did a good job at crew chief as usual. But yeah, just all in all, very good race, good showing. Larson continued the momentum of the year in the sprint car, really not slowing down. Just keeps it going, keeps it pushing, and there's really no one that can mess with him at this point.
Yeah, and that point with him driving the Kozlowski number 57 instead of the Silva 57 kind of goes back to the point about the Pennsylvania California stuff where I think Silva's keeping his car out on the East Coast for these last couple high limit races, and it just makes more sense for him to run the other 57 out there. And I want to clarify, I mean, I'm full on posse. I'm PA posse for all the Pennsylvania fans out there. I'm not hating on the PA drivers, but I do think, I mean, the California guys, they don't get in the spotlight quite as much they don't get the chance to really travel out to these other races in the Midwest on the East Coast and showcase their talent. But when it comes to the NASCAR side of things for Kyle Larson this week, man, it was close, Dylan. It was a good race for Kyle from the start, he looked like the dominant car. I think he was the dominant car. He led the most laps, right? I mean, 99 laps led, and it was kind of a strategy mishap, which took the 5 team out of contention for the win.
Yeah, there was a lot of talk about it that that strategy with the call with Cliff. Everyone was kind of bad mouthing to Cliff about it. Cliff was the first one to say like, "Hey, my bad. I apologize. We'll get you back up there." Which the car, it obviously had the speed to get back to the field for sure, but that restart where he didn't take tires. Elliott, he's one of the guys that ended up benefiting from it. I think it was the top 8 or so at the time didn't stayed out and didn't take tires, but it was pretty quick showing that the guys on fresh tires just had a ton of momentum out the gate. They were much faster, but it also didn't help. Larson got really loose on that initial restart in turn two. That cost him some spots, had to check up a little bit there, but he was down to like 15th or so a few laps after the restart. It just kept kind of fading. Finished stage two in 19th, but he just climbed back to the field pretty quick. Around 70 laps to go, he made his way back into the top 10, made his way back in the top 5 with 30 laps to go. So definitely had the speed, just a frustrating one. There's a lot of variables. A lot of people were talking about, the overtime restart where if he chose bottom, where Reddick ended up, he had a very good chance to win. Probably would have won because he was the fastest car. Starting all the way back there with behind Hamlin, where apparently that was Larson's fault, by the way, the whole Hamlin thing that Hamlin was sleeping on the restart. But yeah, just getting caught up behind those guys. Still got a fourth place finish. Um, it just shows that he definitely had the speed to win. So just a frustrating one. It got away, but it shows. I mean, Darlington when he had really good speed, Kansas really good speed, and it's a good signing this playoff stretch going into Bristol that he's had a really good car. The pit crew has just been lights out. I don't think they could be any more locked in this playoff run. So really excited for what's to come with this 5 team in the upcoming races.
Yeah, and I want to go back to that caution with I think it was 7 laps to go when Kyle was in the fifth position. I mean, really that was the craziest point of the race where we saw Kyle and we expected everybody to put on tires there during that caution and Kyle obviously taking 4 tires, but then we had the three guys that took 2 tires that came out ahead of him on pit road. Kyle came off second on pit road of the guys that took 4. Hamlin was first, leapfrogged ahead of Reddick, but then we had Suarez stay out on the track and not take tires at all as he stretched out the last pit cycle a little bit farther. And like you said, the decision that Kyle made as far as restarting behind Hamlin in row number 4 on the outside or taking the inside of row number 3, I think what that boiled down to ultimately was that Suarez, with no fresh tires on, restarted choosing the bottom. And I think Kyle just thought that that line was going to get held up quite a bit by Suarez being slower on the bottom, and that's why he picked behind Hamlin. But I mean, I don't think you can fault Larson either way for his decision there. Obviously, hindsight's 2020, and that goes for a lot of things. I mean, Cliff Daniels even said that about the strategy call of not putting on tires. That, hey, look, hindsight. Kyle could have drove up through the field even if they put new tires on and lost a little bit of track position. But as far as the restart goes, I think Kyle made a good decision restarting behind Hamlin. But like we saw, Hamlin was lagging back on the restart. He wanted to try and blame it on Larson for lagging back, but I don't really see how the guy behind you is affecting your decision whether you lag back or not on the start. I mean, Hamlin was clearly 2 car lengths behind the car in front of him on the outside row when they came into the Geico restart zone. So it was bizarre completely when I was hearing Hamlin's interview. It was my blood was boiling. I was like, how is this? How is he blaming Larson for his shortcomings and basically letting a win that was his fall out of his hands late in the race? So, but on that last pit stop, Dylan, there was a little bit of controversy with Hendrick Motorsports teammate Chase Elliott on pit road. They came out nearing the end of pit road, and Brad Keselowski was coming out of his pit box, and on the inside of Larson, they got 4 wide on pit road. He almost hit Larson. Larson moved up and scraped Chase Elliott, and then after they came off pit road, Chase was bumping Larson, running into him. I mean, what are your thoughts on that from Chase? I mean, I was surprised to see that, and I think a lot of people were.
Yeah, I mean, Keselowski, he obviously gave Larson no room at all. I mean, maybe a matter of inches if he didn't give him any room. But Yeah, like you said, got into Chase a little bit. Chase got pissed, bumped him after. I don't know. I think part of it, I kind of wish Elliott's team would feed him some better information, see that Larson wasn't just bumping into him randomly, like it wasn't his fault. It was wrong of Chase to bump him afterwards. Thankfully, there wasn't any damage, but to try to make a point to your teammate who is a playoff car for your team. I mean, he's competing, he's trying to get playoff points there at the end of the race, and something bad could happen. I mean, he could have damaged his car with that. I don't know. I mean, then Chase. I mean, he went up to his car afterwards. I don't know if he was either voicing his displeasure or he apologized. I'm sure it's probably not the latter, but in his interview with Bob Pockrass, I mean, he kind of just brushed over it like it wasn't a big deal. It's not a huge deal. I mean, it's just unnecessary drama that specifically NASCAR wants to kind of blow out of proportion. Anytime there's anything with Elliott and Larson, it just kind of blows up. I saw it on Race Hub earlier. They were just putting it all over the TV, making a big deal. But I don't know. It's really not a big deal. But I do think it was kind of wrong of Chase to bump your teammate, playoff car. Just not a good situation to kind of make your point there.
Yeah, and also, I mean, understanding like Chase is still in the owners playoffs with his number 9 car. Obviously they had guys that were driving that car, Josh Berry mostly when Chase was out. So I mean they're still in the owners championship contention. So I know Chase is competing for that for the number 9 team, but I mean Larson competing for the drivers championship. I mean if it was the other way around, I don't see Larson running into Chase, retaliating for contact that happened on pit road that almost every driver out there knows that it's tight and you can't. Larson wasn't running into Chase on purpose on pit road. I mean that would be ridiculous if if Chase thought that was the case. I mean it wasn't like it was intentional by any means. I don't know how you could even think that that's intentional contact.
Yeah, I mean it's tight, like you said. I mean he's not gonna run into him, and he's trying to beat guys out at the line. I mean he's
Right.
running into him just gonna slow him down if anything. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I said, I think a lot of it is Elliott's team, feeding him some information. I know a lot of times it's the case. His team, kind of points the finger, pretty quickly when they're asked what's happened. So I don't know. Hopefully the team kind of talked to both of them about that, sat them down. I saw Jeff Gordon, kind of, quickly run up when they were kind of interviewing Elliott and Larson, like, yo, guys, let's calm down. So I don't know. Hendrick's pretty good with dealing with all of the internal stuff. So again, not a big deal. I mean, we obviously got to talk about it because everyone else is, but just not a crazy big deal. It would have been if there was car damage though to either Elliott or Larson. If it definitely would have ruined their chances at a good finish, then it definitely would have been a big deal. But yeah, it's just stupid little drama there at the end of the race.
So, like you said before, Tyler Reddick ended up picking up the win on Sunday. So he locks into the round of 12. Larson's already locked into the round of 12 with his win at Darlington last week. They're the only two drivers that are locked in to the next round. So, looking at the playoff standings, Dylan, what are your thoughts? I mean, we had Martin Truex Jr. with his incident early in the race, the regular season champion, 7 points below the cut line. I don't think anyone saw that coming. But can Truex dig his way out of this hole and make it into the round of 12?
Yeah, I don't know. That was crazy. Like you said, he went out early. I think it was on lap 4. He had a puncture in his tire that just completely ruined his day. He's sitting at 7 points under the cut line. If I'm correct, I think his last top five at Bristol was in like 2007. So it's not
Yeah.
looking too bright for that 19 team. It's definitely a bad situation. There were some other guys. Stenhouse, he looked to be pretty good throughout the race. He was like in the top 10 a few times, but I mean. He's 22 points below. McDowell's 40 points below. Bubba, he was having a good day. Then I think his toe link, he had trouble with that. Just couldn't really, rebound from that. He's 19 points under. So, yeah, it's definitely shook things up a lot. I didn't expect to see Truex, in contention to, not advance to the next round already. But, yeah, I mean some surprise guys. I mean Blaney, he's all the way up there. He's been pretty good. He's 25 points above the cut line. He was actually one of the guys that I thought would be the first four out, but just kind of threw a dart there. But um, you know Brad Keselowski, he just continued RFK with their dominance, throughout this bottom stretch of the season. I mean, they've just been unreal. I think it's Keselowski's third straight top 10, so he should definitely be good to go. But Byron's pretty safe, Hamlin's safe. Just a lot of guys. But yeah, Truex, that's just crazy situation there with him.
Yeah, and I think probably the more troubling thing for Truex, not only the fact that like you said, he hasn't had a top five in forever at Bristol, but it's Kevin Harvick that is his closest competitor, +7 to Truex and Harvick. I mean, we know we saw the 2021 race at Bristol, the Bristol night race where it was Kevin Harvick and Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson shaking up. I mean, Kevin Harvick's no slouch at Bristol, so he's gonna probably be fast and that's going to be tough for Truex. I think it's definitely a shame. I hate to see it for Truex because obviously he's been, I mean, the regular season points champion, so you hate to see him out in the first round just because. I mean, he doesn't deserve that. One bad race. We've seen it time in and time out with this playoffs format. I don't like it. I know you're not a huge fan of it. A lot of people aren't fans of it, where one bad race, one unlucky moment in time, and you're completely eliminated from contention for a championship. And we've seen it happen with Larson last year. Had an issue at the Roval and didn't advance, and now with Truex. So shame, but for me, I'm kind of rooting for Truex. I hope he gets into the next round. But from a Larson perspective, that's one championship competitor that it was play. I mean, we both I think had him in our final four in our pre-playoff predictions, Dylan.
No, I actually he was one of the ones I put out. I did
Oh,
Larson,
okay.
Byron,
You
Hamlin,
had Kyle
and Kyle
Busch.
Busch. Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah, we're looking strong there as far as the Champ Four predictions. But no, I mean, I hope the best for him. I mean, Truex, like I don't care for too many Toyota drivers, but he's one of the few that I kind of silently root for. He's a clean driver, doesn't cause too much of a headache on track. So we'll see. But yeah, like you said with Harvick, that's going to be a tough spot for him to get. We'll see. There's going to be a lot of pressure there for him. But one thing I've noticed, I mean, here in this playoff stretch, Chevys are kind of bouncing back here. I mean, we saw at the end of the season, Chevys were kind of lacking a bit. It was kind of Ford and Toyota dominant. Chevy, they were real quick in the beginning of the year around the midway mark, and just here at Kansas, I mean, we had five Chevys in the top five. Eric Jones with third place finish, Larson fourth, Elliott in sixth, Kyle Busch in seventh, Bowman in 10th. So, I mean, it's looking good for the Chevy team, in the stretch of playoffs, and hopefully they continue to keep that speed heading into Bristol.
And speaking of Bristol, Dylan, you're gonna be there. Big race, big cutoff race. Obviously, gonna feel good being there, knowing Kyle Larson's locked into the next round. That sweet red Valvoline scheme. I know you're hoping to be there in victory lane with the five team.
Yeah, I hope so. I'm really excited. Was hoping to go to Daytona a few weeks ago, ended up falling through, but really glad to be going to Bristol. Yeah, that red Valvoline scheme, that's definitely my favorite scheme. So excited to see that. Glad to not be super stressed out, sitting there biting my nails, hoping Kyle can lock in. But I think we'll put together a good race. He's good there. He said it's one of his favorite tracks. So really excited. Never been there before. It's going to be a long trip, but I think it'll be worth it. Hopefully, Larson's in victory lane, like you said, that'll be an awesome day. Definitely one that I'll probably remember forever. So yeah, really looking forward to that.
Yeah, Bristol is just honestly one of those probably bucket list tracks for any NASCAR fan, and definitely going to be a cool experience. But as far as the dirt track side of things go for Kyle, I don't think that there's anything specific announced on the schedule for this week as of now. So if anything does come about, you know where to find us on all of our social media platforms. But I think if that you don't have anything else done, I think that should pretty much wrap up today's show.
Yeah, that should pretty much be it. I think his next race is what, the Lernerville race with high limit at the end of the month.
Yeah, as of now, Lernerville, the 50,000 for high limit. That next race is that's gonna be the next race of confirmed for Kyle Larson on dirt.
Yeah, so that should pretty much be it. As always, stay up to date on our social medias on Twitter. Bristol this weekend, I'll be making a video, hopefully posting some reels if the connection isn't too spotty there. Really not high hopes for that. I mean, it's in the middle of nowhere. Gonna be a lot of people. I hope I have some service, but Yeah, hope to get some videos out to you guys. Gonna do that YouTube video so everyone can kind of see the behind the scenes of the pit crew doing their thing and all that. But yeah, really looking forward to it. But yeah, stay tuned on our social medias, Twitter's where we post the breaking news and race updates and such. Instagram, Facebook. Obviously, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the YouTube. Comment any of your thoughts. Something you may agree with, something you may disagree with. We always love interacting with all the fans of the page when we can. And yeah, that should pretty much be it. We'll see y'all next week.
Yeah, and if you see Dylan at Bristol, make sure you say hi and chat with him. So, thanks again, everyone, for tuning into today's show. We'll be back again next week to recap the Bristol night race and hopefully Kyle Larson's win there in the Red Valvoline scheme. If you're watching this on YouTube, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please follow the podcast so you don't miss a thing. Have a great rest of the week, everyone, and we will see you in the next episode.